So welcome Ian Waterhouse, a motorsport interviewer and presenter. Thank you very much for coming on the show and getting involved. But yeah, how are you?
I'm very, very well. A pleasure to be here, actually. Thank you for getting in touch and asking me on. Season started, so busy, which
Yeah,
is always a good thing.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was. It's good now. The season's getting going. With various championships across the UK, and lots going on. What I wanted to start by asking you though is, how did you first become interested in motorsport?
Well, I've always been interested in motorsport ever since I was a kid. I give away my age a little bit here, but I remember the 1992 Formula One season. And of course, Nigel Mansell romping home to victory pretty much in every single race. And it sort of started there, which is quite strange because no one in my family is really into cars or anything at all. But Dad's a big sportsman, but he's big into his football and cricket and golf and doesn't really, not really bothered about motorsport. But I got the bug anyway. And my dad took me along to a few touring cars up at Thruxton when I was a kid. And it just sort of grew from there. And so I followed Formula One massively. Always have done, always will do, and did a little stint working with Livewire Sport. And we looked after the Formula One account, social media account, before Liberty Media came in. So I did that for a little bit, which was great fun. And of course, it only, puts more fire into your belly, doesn't it, for motorsport? And things have just gone from there, really.
Yeah, it's interesting you say, obviously, about no one really in your family was into it, particularly beforehand, because obviously since I've started doing these interviews, that's generally the first question I ask, because I'm always interested. And 9 times out of 10, it's because, if it's a driver, maybe their dad raced, or it's always, it's always generally to do with that. So it's really interesting. Can you remember what would you say is your first motorsport memory that you can remember?
It was Nigel Mansell winning the British Grand Prix in 1992. I remember. I wasn't there, but I remember it. I remember watching it on telly. And incidentally, I remember '94 as well when Senna died.
Yeah.
And I just remember the furore around. I mean, I was only a kid. I was born in '85, so I was 7 when Mansell won the title. I was only 9 when Senna died. But I just remember it being this huge thing. And like I said, even though none of my family are into motorsport, I remember them talking about it a lot. And it was, like I say, my family, it's a very sporting family, which is not in motorsport. So yes, Nigel Mansell, British Grand Prix, 1992. That was my first motorsport memory.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, once you sort of first started getting into it and found a passion for it, when would you say you realised you wanted to get involved with it in the future, work-wise?
It started actually. Everything started with the business in 2018, and I started a company called My Supercar, which is probably what everybody knows as. But we've since changed this season to Live Motorsport now. So we changed the name a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, My Supercar. And it started in 2018 actually, but I was doing a lot of marketing. I was doing a lot of digital marketing and things like that. And my initial idea really was to be in the automotive sector. And was actually, I created this campaign called RAMP, the Responsive Automotive Marketing Program. Nothing to do with motorsport. It was for car dealers to flog secondhand cars. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was such a great thing. Didn't really take off, as you can probably tell. But a friend of mine who I'd done some work with years ago, he sponsored a race team, a motorsport team called Moore's Motors. So I'm sure SV, Super Cup and things like that. And he said, look, I'll give you the guy's name who runs the team, a chap called Jamie, just see if there's any synergy or anything like that. So I said, yeah, okay, cool. So I gave Jamie a call, Jamie Moore, and he's only down the road from me. So I said, yeah, come on down. And I just sort of mentioned about potentially doing some live stuff, a bit like yourself with interviews and things like that. Yeah. And he said, absolutely. He goes, look, if you want, there's a new motorsport championship starting in 2019 called Enduro Car. If you want, I'll put you in touch with the guy who runs it at MSV, Stuart Garland. So I was like, yeah, I didn't really know where I was going with it, to be honest. I was sort of just like, yeah, great, whatever happens. Anyway, I spoke to Stuart. He invited us down for the media day. So we did some filming and we did like a promo video for Enduro Car that day. Got us out in the car, did some interviews and things like that. And then that was a success. And then he said, look, can you do a time-lapse video of a road-going KA to a race car KA? So we're like, yeah, of course we can. And we went along we got invited to Motorsport Days, the very first Motorsport Days live up at Silverstone. Now, in the lead up to Motorsport Days Live, I did a little live just randomly on my laptop on Facebook, just saying, "Oh, hey, everybody, it's Ian here from My Supercar." I mean, we hadn't done anything in motorsport. It's fine. We were literally nobodies. And I did this live, and it had about 15,000 people watch it in the
Really?
motorsport.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is this all about? So we started to explore the live thing a lot more, because we had all the equipment. You know, we were going to be doing videography and things like that. But then we started to explore the live thing, thinking, hang on, this is immediate attention right now. There's something in this. So anyway, we thought, I got in touch with pretty much every exhibitor going to Motorsport Days and said, we're going to come along. Would you like us to do a little interview with you? It's, you know, it's no charge or anything. And then we'll wrap it up for you at the end and hand it out. So loads and loads and loads came back. So we set up the time-lapse cameras with MSV, hit them to play, and you just kind of leave them and off they go to do the thing. But we had our other camera, and I interviewed everybody. I just went absolutely ballistic.
Yeah.
And it all started from there. So I got everybody's details, of course. So it was just sales, to be honest. I got everybody's details from there, sent them the video clip. And then Stuart at MSV said, would you be interested in live streaming our first round at Donington Park? I was like, well, yeah, great, definitely. And that's how it started. Stuart said, will you come along and live stream it? We didn't really know what we were doing. Our first event we did on a mobile phone. We didn't have a bloody clue,
Really?
but it went really, really well. It went really well. And then Stuart said, will you come back and do our second event? And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then I started to think there's something in this. And we do the behind the scenes stuff. For those who don't know, I created this product called the F1 Style Media to the pub circuit, because it's more centered around people. A bit like Drive to Survive, only at club level almost, if you will. There's a bit of on-track action, but it's not a forte for us. We're much better in the paddock talking to the drivers, and it's a damn sight cheaper as well, because multicam operations, I'm sure everybody watching will know, cost an absolute bloody fortune. Yeah. So we do everything off single cam, and we developed our system quite significantly. And then we did the Civic Cup that year as well. Then we did the BRSCC Fiesta Juniors, we did the MSV Super Cup, and it started to snowball. And the reason really is because I based everything on, you know, in Formula One, Martin Brundle's grid walk.
Yeah.
To me, that was the most exciting bit about Formula. That in the start, you know, was the most exciting bit about Formula One. What is better than watching some bloke with a microphone and a camera, no script, live on air, being told to go away, or just grabbing? And my experience is that's the way to do it, because if you ask somebody for an interview when you're in the moment in a sporting environment, you give them the chance to say no. There's a 50-50 chance they might say no. Whereas if you don't give them the chance and you just do it, nobody wants to look stupid in front of camera. So they'll do it. And that's what I based our coverage on. And then it just blew up. And 2020 was a huge year. 2021 again was a huge year. And 2022 is going to be a big year too.
Yeah. Did you, I mean, it's an awesome story. And I actually didn't expect some of the things you said, obviously, with how it started and how it snowballed. Did you ever expect it to get where it is now? Because it's, you know, it has really taken off.
No, I hoped it would. But and the thing is as well, a lot of people say to me, oh, have you always wanted to be a presenter? Have you always wanted to be a commentator? And not to knock anybody who wants to do that. That was never really the goal, if I'm totally honest. It was only because I couldn't afford a presenter. So I had myself, I had my cameraman, and I have a producer as well. Yeah. But in order to keep it cost effective for the championships, you know, I was charging minuscule sums, you know, I had to prove of concept. You know, I'm essentially saying I'm going to come live stream, but I'm going to cover the live races, but I'm only going to cover them off one camera. So it's very difficult to sell that in to somebody who might be used to a multicam operation paying £7,000. And I'm coming in saying, no, we'll do it off one camera, but it's going to be better. We're going to get more views. You've got to sell it hard, and you've got to prove it, really. And that's what 2019 was all about. And it was just literally a case of, I just couldn't afford to hire a presenter. So it turns out I could do it. I've been in media for a long time. I used to be a feature article writer, but in golf. And like I said, I've done a stint with Formula One as well on social media. So I don't really know where it was going in 2019. We're just kind of riding the wave. 2020 blew up. 2021 blew up. And now it's at a real nice, strong point, because we've got a real strong product that cars going around a racetrack is great. It's really good fun. But the people really kind of get neglected quite a bit. You know, if you're just doing race after race after race, you go and interview the top three, Well, there could be 30 drivers in that race. 27 of them just get completely ignored. But the stories are incredible.
Yeah.
And that's what people want to see. And I think Drive to Survive has done us a good deal as well, because it's sort of showing more about the people. I mean, whatever you think about Drive to Survive, it has got a bit soap opera-y now, hasn't it? But, you know, when you're live and you're there trackside, there's no made up stories. It's happening. It's right there in front of you. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's wonderful, really.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely get that. Whenever obviously we go, I mean, we go to lots of different race events. You know, most of my family, all of my family, pretty much follow motorsport. We go to as many BTCC rounds we can get to, and we live a few miles from Snetterton, so we go to all the club stuff as well. Now, I've definitely noticed, especially in the last year or so, definitely last year, I obviously love watching the racing. It's great seeing, you know, side by side action. But also, I've definitely noticed what you've said. I love being in the paddock and seeing different stories unfold and different rumours. And I just love all of that side of motorsport. Obviously, for people, it's great, obviously, doing interviewing like you do. You get to meet so many awesome different drivers and different characters. What would you say you most enjoy about what you do?
I definitely say it's the friendships I've built, and I don't want it to sound lame or anything, but I think what separates us a little bit is we've generally become friends with everybody in the paddock, and it's a real pleasure just to walk up and down the paddock and everybody be saying, "Oh, hey Ian, hey Ian," and it really makes me feel special, you know, because I don't race myself. I'm not a race car driver. I don't think I ever will be. I've been offered drives before with stuff. And I have to be honest, my ambition isn't to become a race driver. My ambition is to give those who want to be a race driver as much exposure as possible to help them on that journey. You know, that's what gets me more of a buzz. I'm not really too fussed about driving a race car. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to, like I said, I've done media days, I've done track days. So I've been very fortunate that a few perhaps silly teams have handed me the keys to their car and let me take it out, which is fantastic. A big thank you to everybody. But, you know, I prefer walking about. I prefer talking to people and seeing their passion light up in their eyes, because it's my passion is to make their passion become real, you know, and that's what fires me up. And I walk along the paddock. I mean, I did Brit Car Endurance the other day and I did a grid walk. And I'm bumping into everybody, you know, and it comes across when we interview as well, rather than I don't just want to be an interviewer, you know. Everybody's very good, everybody's brilliant who works in motorsport, audience commentators, especially Dave Goddard, is the genius. But a lot of the presenters and pit reporters are all very good. They ask very good questions, but sometimes. And one of the reasons I moved into motorsport is because I felt there was just a little bit of rapport lacking at times, and you know, I go out to drivers. I had a chat with Liam Morley the other day, and you know, I was saying how many pair of pants you have to bring to a weekend, you know, in the supercars, because they're absolutely mad. You know, you must shit yourself for X amount of times. Apologies.
No worries.
But it's that type of rapport that's built up because we're on their side. You know, I want them to be passionate about it, and when I can see them lining up in the car, I can see it in their eyes, and I can see the energy coming off them as they get out of the car. It gives me a real buzz. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's great. And we watched the live stream the other day from Silverstone. Lots of great championships going on there. You know, I think we are very lucky across the whole of the UK. We've got lots of great championships. What do you most enjoy, obviously, going to watch and commentating on and speaking about? What championship do you most enjoy?
Oh, well, it's difficult because everyone offers a different experience. I've been very close to the MG Car Club for the last few years, so I know everybody, and that's really nice. I'm heavily involved with the classic touring cars as well, and I mean, you know, those cars, they're insane.
Absolutely,
In fact, I presented their award ceremony a couple of weeks ago, and it's things like that just like it's really nice. I get invited to the championships as well, and I'm heavily involved with the Fiesta Juniors and seeing the development of these young drivers. I mean, it's insane when you think they're like 14 to 17, 14-year-olds driving around Cadwell Park in Snetterton, full pelt. You wouldn't know they were 14 if you just turned up to a racetrack, didn't know what's going on. You just assumed it's fully grown men and women driving around in race cars. They're incredible. So each championship I work with offers something different. So it's very sort of it's very difficult to pinpoint one. And actually, when I do sort of Britcar, when I do the bike work, I'm actually freelancing with the TV company. And it's incredibly full on because we're doing every single race. So there's no real time to sort of socialize, which is what I like to do a little bit. You know, when I do Fiesta Juniors, when I do MG Car Club, I don't do every single championship that weekend. So I've got a little bit more time to just really focus on those, do my paddock walks. That's something I can't really do when I do the stuff with Bark because there just isn't time. We pre-record interviews and stuff like that, which is great. We do the live interviews after the race, which is fantastic. But then you've got 15 minutes to the next race finishes and you've got to do that bit live. So you've literally got 10 minutes to get back down to Parc Fermé. So I enjoy all of it, but I enjoy the ones where perhaps I get a bit more time to socialise with the teams of drivers, perhaps just a touch more.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. I completely get that. It often seems that it always seems to be, you know, really busy at a racetrack with lots going on. But to be fair, we wouldn't really want it any other way, I guess. It's nice to have, you know, so much going on, lots of different championships. And yeah, it's all looking good. 2022 set to be another fantastic year for motorsport. We've got lots of changes going on across all the different championships. What would you say you're most looking forward to about this season?
There's a few things in the pipeline that I haven't done before, which I'm quite looking forward to. A couple of years ago, I did a 24-hour race, but it was quite a high-pressured one, whereas there's the potential to do one. There might be the potential to do one this year, and I'm quite looking forward to that one as well because when I did the first 24-hour race, I was at Snetterton near you. I slept in the media centre sofa overnight because I didn't want to leave in case something went wrong.
Yeah.
And this time, if there's a potential to do it again, but it's not going to be a full scale, might not be a full scale multi-cam operation, which is better. So I am quite looking forward to that. Again, I'm looking forward to the fact that sort of COVID, it's still there, but the restrictions that we've had over the last 2 years aren't really there. You know, the championships I've recently got involved with, they always say to me, Ian, we have great push on that. Certainly with the MG Car Club guys, the Metro Cup and the MG Cup, they have a wonderful relationship. In fact, I'm with them on Sunday, and you normally have a huge party. It was due to be at Donington, and the sunshine was absolutely glorious last year, but unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, we weren't allowed to have it. I think we were only out of like 20. So I'm kind of looking forward to that because I don't want to make it like I don't do any work and I just party and socialise all the time. We work hard, but you know, as I said, we've become friends with everybody, and because of that, I'm just looking forward to seeing everybody again without the restrictions we've had over the last 2 years. And fingers crossed they don't come back, so we can really just forget the last 2 years and get back into doing what we love.
No, that's understandable. It's funny, really, because I often think, because I started this my YouTube channel, my interviewing, right at the start of last year when we were in, I think it was lockdown 3, I think we were up to by then. Anyway, so we were in lockdown at the start of last year, and I think that was the reason I started. I wanted to do something that was going to hopefully, you know, kickstart what I want to do in the future. And obviously it was nice to do that sort of while I was homeschooling. So, you know, half of me was like, yeah, this is great. You know, COVID was sort of the reason why I've started this, you know, and bringing a positive out of a negative. But then once we came out of lockdown and we were getting to Snetterton sort of every other weekend when there was something on, it was quite difficult because I wanted to go and do interviews, and we started doing a few little bits and pieces outside last year. There'll be a lot more happening this year, but obviously the restrictions made it quite difficult. So it'll be nice this year to get back to sort of a new normal, I suppose. But yeah, it should be good.
The first proper year back, isn't it? I mean, even last year, a lot of stuff didn't start till sort of April, May time because of restrictions. Whereas the season, you know, I was out last weekend at Silverstone. I'm out this weekend at Brands Hatch. And then the next weekend, I'm back out at Silverstone again. So, you know, before the end of March has come, I don't think I'd set foot out of the house in March 2021. And by the time it's ended, I'll have done 3 race weekends. So it's just wonderful to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you obviously get to visit lots of the circuits. I know you don't get to drive them, but which do you think offers the best racing and is best to go to as a spectator, would you say?
Brands Hatch. It's no brainer for me. I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I'm sort of in it where I live. I'm sort of in, if you've got Silverstone and then you've got Thruxton and then you've got Brands Hatch, I'm like right in the middle of all three.
Yeah.
But all three of them are sort of like just over an hour away for me. So I'm in quite a decent position, really. But I don't know what it is about Brands Hatch. It wasn't the first track we did. Donington Park was the first track we ever live streamed properly at. But I don't know what it is about Brands Hatch. Every time you drive in and you just see Paddock Hill and you can see the Indy circuit, of course, and you can see everything. And it's great for us to broadcast from with our single cam operation as well, because we go right to the very top of the roof, the radio tower, and we can see everything. And it's the best track for us to film at. I mean, you know, Cadwell Park is obviously a beautiful racetrack, Alton Park as well. Cadwell Park, as you probably know, is just in the middle of nowhere. It takes like 5 days to get there. And, you know, why can't they make it more central? But there's a few tracks, actually, I haven't been to. I've never been to Castle Combe, would you believe? I've never been to Knockhill, and I've never been to Anglesey. So 3 tracks I've never been to. Now, there's a fair chance that will change this year, but
we, to be fair, we are really lucky with the tracks we've got, you know, they're all really different as well, all offer something new. It was obviously, we as I said earlier, I live a couple of miles from Stetson, so we're up there whenever we can, on the weekday if there's testing going on, or obviously when the season does get started. But it's been nice sort of recently when we've really been getting into things, visiting other tracks. I mean, we went to Brands Hatch for the British Touring Car finale in 2019, and it just, I mean, I'd done it like obviously on the sim and stuff, but it took my breath away, and it's a brilliant circuit. We got there again for the finale of the touring cars last year as well. But yeah, I can really see why you like it, and it's
I
a
have driven
circuit.
Brands Hatch as well, I have to say. I've had the pleasure of I took an Enduro KA round and a 116 trophy car round, and there's just on the Indy set, there's just no time to relax, is there? And going down Paddock Hill, you don't realise how steep it is when you're in a car. And I remember my first lesson out was with David Graves from Graves Motorsport. He took me out, and I was driving, and he said, when you go down Paddock Hill, he says you go in, turn in, and you got to put your foot on the accelerator. Now, of course, you still go downhill like that, and every instinct is telling you, I want to brake. Every instinct in the world is telling you to brake. He says if you do that, or if you lift off and try and go down, there's a fair chance you'll spin. You've got to put the traction down and go through. And once you've done it once, it's all right. But that first time is terrifying because your stomach just goes from here up to here.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it looks amazing just spectating on the sideline. So I can't imagine how brilliant it is to drive it. You obviously mentioned you did some work in Formula One, with obviously the media side of it. Firstly, how cool was that? And secondly, you know, I know you're super busy, but do you still have time to follow the F1 these days?
Yeah, I do like the F1. I don't get to watch the races as much because I'm usually doing something. I'm heavily involved in golf, football and handball as well, so it's not just motorsport. So if I'm not at a racetrack, I'm probably on a golf course or at a football pitch somewhere. So I don't get to watch as many races as possible. In fact, this Sunday, the Bahrain GP, I won't get to watch it because I'm at Brands Hatch, which you know, can't complain.
No, exactly.
I mean, I'll probably watch the highlights. So yes, I do follow it. I do, you know, want the Brits to do well, of course. And the thing about working with Formula One, this was before Liberty Media came in, so probably 5-6 years ago. It was actually, we were freelancing with a company called Livewire Sport who had the contract. So it's nowhere near as glamorous as you might think. We weren't flown to Monaco or anything like that. I think I did a Tuesday and a race weekend. So on a Tuesday, I would go to Chiswick and we would work out at the Lightbox in Chiswick. And then on race weekends, we went to Biggin Hill because that's where the Formula One Management Centre was, the Tata Communication Centre. And it was awesome to see because you had all the monitors, you had everything. That's essentially where they controlled everything from then. It's probably changed now, but it was up at Biggin Hill. So that was really cool. It was really cool, but it was nowhere near as glamorous as everybody might think it was. I never went to Monaco, even the British Grand Prix.
Yeah.
In fact, funny story about that. I was just going to say my first ever one actually with Formula One was the Monaco Grand Prix.
Really?
But I was at Biggin Hill. So I was all excited because I was doing the Monaco Grand Prix, but I was at an airport in Kent.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's funny with motorsport as a whole, not just with F1, but I think it is people think it is a lot more glamorous. And you see, you know, let's take British touring cars, for example. I think a lot of people coming into it as an outsider think, you know, you've got these big teams like West Surrey or Toyota, you know, paying the drivers like we maybe had in the 90s with the Super Tours. But actually, it's very much the opposite way around. It's for drivers' package overall, which, to be fair, I find all of that stuff really interesting. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, really.
There is. And this is another reason I do what I do in motorsport. It's to help the teams from a commercial side of things too, is to give them something. Now, I produce a view and figure report after every single event we do, and I make it accessible for all the drivers. They can do what they want with it, but it's only going to help. You know, if you're doing I'm doing the MG Cup this weekend, let's say 20,000 people watch it. I'll produce a report that says that, gives all the information. It documents where people have been watching them as well, because I've built out a motorsport distribution network. We don't just broadcast to our channels, we broadcast to the teams, the championship. We've got people like Last Lap, Pit Stop Magazine, Tin Top Racing on board, and people like that. So we broadcast across the board. And so that helps the drivers. Now, it's very interesting what you say, and I see it at every level. I've seen the drivers who, this is a hobby for them, and they just want to go racing, and they're not trying to make it. They just want to have a good time. And, you know, they do well for themselves. They've got a bit of cash in the bank, so they go race. Certainly with the Fiesta Juniors, they're all trying to find a pathway to get to BTCC or Le Mans or whatever. They're trying to get to GT racing, and it's expensive. You know, there's no shying away from it. It's expensive. So if we can give them coverage, that's important. You know, it's probably unlikely you're going to get sponsorship these days if you're racing in a club championship that doesn't have any form of live coverage, because there's so many other options and there's so many people trying to do it. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing to see. And like you say, everybody thinks everybody's loaded in a BTCC outside of motorsport, but they're not. You know, Bobby Thompson is somebody I know very well. I've done a lot of work with Bobby. Last year, he just couldn't find the money. He just couldn't get the sponsorship. You know, he's got the talent. He's a bloody good driver. Yeah. In fact, everybody's a really good driver. It's just budget. It's expensive. I mean, you see it in Formula One, don't you, now, with Mazepin. Yeah. Now, I know everything that's going on in Russia and Ukraine. You know, I don't know if you've watched Drive to Survive. Yeah. And you've got to take things that's on there with a bit of a pinch of salt, but he didn't come across well, and it just wasn't good enough. And it was there because of his sponsor money. There's no two ways about it. You know, normally he wouldn't make the grade if it was based on talent alone. Not to dig the guy a grave, but you know, money talks. That's just how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel, you know, as I said, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and I think I've been able to have like a really good insight into that doing these interviews, and it's actually nice, as you said earlier, helping drivers, because I think when I first started, obviously, you know, I've been lucky enough to interview some, like, you know, some really big names, people like Paul O'Neill, David Addison, lots of, you know, commentators. But then when I've spoken,
I don't know what you got me on for, mate. Drivers,
maybe some of them. No, I wasn't saying it in terms of that. But the younger drivers, maybe some of them in the minis, or you know, some of the junior championships. It's been nice to see, maybe, you know, when they've said afterwards, and maybe I didn't see it to start with, they said, you know, it helped them as much as it helped me when I was first starting out, because, you know, I was obviously, you know, very grateful for all of them, you know, for coming on the opportunity for me, it was nice to see, and it's been nice to hopefully help some drivers, because it's not easy all that stuff.
You know, one thing about motorsport which surprised me is, first of all, politics. Somebody said to me, you'll get tired of the politics in motorsport. And I'll be honest, there was a period probably about 6 months ago where I was just getting a bit fed up with it. Nothing major or anything, but I was just like, I can't believe this is people actually, you know, in motorsport. I thought we just rocked up to a racetrack and had a good time, which by and large, by the way, 95 you're just like. However, you know, you just miss it too much. You just love it so much, and there's a community in motorsport, and there's every championship I've ever worked with, I always say, you know, what's the best thing about you? And a lot of them will say, oh, we've got the friendliest, you know, grid out there. And you can't really say that, because everybody says that. And I've never in my life, I've worked with, since 2019, I think I've worked with about 35 different championships. There are very few club championships in the UK that have, and every single one has been outstandingly welcoming. I mean, I've not had a problem with any. No one at all, ever. Everybody's been happy to talk. Everybody's really well. Every time I go into a garage, I enjoy tea, coffee. You know, if you need a drink in, come to our caravan. You know, come here, come do that. You know, if you need a break, you know, we're always here. And it's everyone. It's every championship, and it's really unique, because you see it a lot in sport, you know, but not at that level. You know, like I say, I'm heavily involved in golf, and golf can be very singular at times. It can be very, you know, everybody's very humble in motorsport as well, and I find it incredible. It's just a lovely place to be. You know, in a paddock over the course of a weekend when the sun is shining, I'm just in a happy place. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got all of that to look forward to this year. It won't be too long till I guess obviously the weather be very nice. But Ian, thank you so very much for coming on the show for a chat. It's been really good to hear about lots of your experience. One of the big reasons why I do this. So yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. The pleasure really is all mine, and that's what you got behind you as well, I have to say.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, keep up the good work, and yeah, hopefully see you at a race track very soon.
Yeah. Let me know. Drop me a message when you're next going up Snetterton. I'm at Snetterton a few times this year, so we must have coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.